So, chapter of Chainsaw. So this is gonna be Chainsaw Man chapter 223 review, and the chapter starts off where Yoru is looking at the Denji Chainsaw Man hybrid now, and complaining about he's red and that he's not her Chainsaw Man, and it's just so funny because hey, it's just so funny how even now, it's still everybody wants Chainsaw Man's heart. Nobody wants Denji, or like nobody wants Denji's heart. Like that. That's just so funny how that just sums up the entire series. And then she tells him to turn back. She's not interested in Denji. And then we see the chains come out, and I don't know, just reminds me so much of like how much he's learned from like his enemies. Cause right now he's using the chains, which he learned from Rize. And then she's cooking him, saying that's the attack you learned in high school. She said you're basically calling him a dumbass, or just calling him an idiot. And then she keeps complaining to him to return his body to Chainsaw Man, that he's gonna suffer the consequences. And then what's really interesting is we see him use one of the moves that he learned from the fake Chainsaw Man, where he tells Yoru that I heard that you made a lot of great friends, right? And so he uses the chains to put armor on himself that's all of like her devil friends. So I don't remember which all the ones that it was, right? But I know one of the notable ones is the Moray Eel, and he uses that as armor to cover himself, saying that he made himself some swanky armor, which interesting. But you know, I can see Denji saying swanky, so it's not that crazy. But you hear all the devils talking about how much it hurts because right, nobody can die right now, so they're just suffering. And what's really interesting is we see Yoru is actually like visibly affected by this, right? And talks about how she's using her friends as a shield. And then Yoru complains about how he's a brute and saying like no way, like she can't attack him or anything like that. And then after that, Denji goes and cuts her head off, but nobody can die, so pretty much doesn't do anything. And then she's talking about okay, fine, I'll just blast your head off, right? And then she ends up hitting one of the moray eels, and then we see the moray eel start crying, bro. This chapter is hilarious, man. And then he revs his engine again. And then Yoru is such a goofball, right? I don't know what this character is talking about. She's like, at this point, I was having fun because she played by the rules, but you know, in war there are no rules. So I don't know. It's really just like a child. This whole thing is just like a child throwing a tantrum, right? Talking about she fought fair and square, but that they crossed the line. Maybe she was following the rules in her mind, because there's, I guess it's kind of how it is, right? The quote unquote honor. Like I feel like she's like the embodiment of like propaganda and all that, because in her mind, right, she's the right, and you know she's in the right, and the victors determine who's right. So I guess as long as she's winning, she's determining that she's having fun in that. But once she starts to lose, she's now questioning herself, and she has to deal with the reality of what she's doing or what's actually going on. And she says after regenerating her her torso, saying that playtime's over and that Denji's gonna pay for that. And then we see right now the Denji, talks about how he's lost people. He knows how she feels. He knows how they hurt and die. And he says he understands what it's like to become increasingly alone, right? And how her heart must ache after losing all these people. And then we see Yoru make this expression of surprise. And then the Denji eats the moray eel devil. Just this guy is so goofy, bro. And sometimes I read this story, I'm like, what is going on right now? This is so silly, man. And then we just see Yoru's shocked expression, bro. It should have me dying. And then Chainsaw Man talks about how tasty it was to eat her friend, the moray eel devil. And then we see Yoru pissed, right? Going. And then, she does her signature bang, which all the horsemen have their bang. Or they have some form of attack like that. And she misses him, goes through the wall, and then Denji just starts messing with her during the fight. And he says that give back Ace's body, or I'll eat your buddies one by one. And Yoru, still looking so sad, says, damn you, dude." And but okay, so here's where I'm kind of confused, because the last chapter just ends with the moon, right? And the moon is cracking, revealing that there's something in the moon underneath the American flag that she's going to use to fight Denji. I'm assuming. Watch it be Rize. Nah, I'm playing. But this is the part of the story where I'm just gonna give like my overall like rating, review, and everything. And overall, pretty good chapter. I really enjoyed it. I give it like 8.5. I thought it was really funny, and I thought it was very interesting how there were so many callbacks to everything that Denji's learned. Everything, not even just from fighting, but just like with losing people and everything like that. He's become a very like different person. Where before it was like, I don't know, he didn't have any agency in his life, and I love to see how he's getting that agency even when he makes like the same mistakes over and over again. It's just the truth that linear growth is, not a reality. Sometimes you fall back, you have to get back up, you have to go back to where you were. You take one step forward, four steps back. So that's just the reality, right? But another thing is, can Asa's body really be gotten back? Because remember, she's a fiend, so she did die. So what happens if Yoru is gone, or unless Yoru just stays there, but she doesn't do this again, which I highly doubt that's gonna happen. So I'm just looking at this like, could Yoru realistically give Asa's body back? Like, is Asa realistically ever coming back into this story? I think the answer is no, personally. I think Asa is gone. And I think this whole thing is kind of bittersweet, which I don't know how this story is going to end, but hey, who can really. This shit is damn near like predicting the market, bro. I cannot tell you how this story is gonna end. But actually, I will be making this. Speaking of that, I will be making a theory video on how I think this story is going to end. So make sure to stay tuned for that. It'll be pretty good. But all right, that's just my review on this chapter, my thoughts about it. It's not like fully in depth or anything, cause I read it. I read it twice now, so I haven't like really done like in-depth analysis of anything. Maybe I'll do another in-depth analysis, but we'll see. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought down below about this chapter. I loved it. I thought it was really good. And all right, you guys take care.